Donald Trump, was he right again? And there's some words to really trigger hundreds of millions of lefties across the world who have become utterly deranged with regard to many different stories, crap that they've been fed over the last few years. Now, I needed to do something on the developing situation with regard to the emerging story about the provenance of the coronavirus. Who was the one person, who was the one prominent figure in the world of politics and science, high profile figure, who at the start of the pandemic, if you want to call it a pandemic, at the start of the 2020, asked and wanted to find out about where COVID-19 had emerged from? Who was the one who didn't simply toe the line that it emerged in a wet market in Wuhan? Who quite sensibly asked, hold on a minute, aren't there some laboratories in Wuhan that work with coronaviruses? Was it not a reasonable thing for anybody to ask? Could it not have escaped from there? And Trump did. And many other people did as well. And they were silenced, dismissed as tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorists, had what they had to say completely debunked. People on social media who wanted to highlight what Trump had said and also had found some interesting information themselves were demonetized on social media platforms, were silenced, were censored. That theory, we were told, was nonsense. It was peddled by QAnon, it was peddled by conspiracy theorists. And where are we now? So we're now in June 2021. So well over a year since these stories were suppressed. And all of a sudden, our mainstream media is giving credence to them. Well, they have to. But why? Why now? The information hasn't changed. The information was always there. Why now is our media reporting on that information? Why is it all of a sudden not a conspiracy theory? Why all of a sudden is it credible? And what does this say about what the hell else is being suppressed and censored? I have my very, very strong suspicions, and I know that a lot of you who watch my channel do as well. Now, just to go back to Trump, he divides opinion amongst those who say they're in this awake movement. He divides opinion. There are those who say that he is part of the Washington swamp that he so often decried and railed against. There are those who say that he is part of a cabal that is running things from behind the scenes that, you know, David Icke talks a lot about. So there are those in that group. And there are those who think that Trump was true to his word. He did try to drain the Washington swamp. And whilst I don't think anyone would say that anybody would say Trump, you know, hasn't been corrupt in some ways, the people in that latter camp, I think, realised that Trump really did act as a last bulwark against communism for the West, who did realise the threat of China, and who did actually mainly tell the truth. And it's that word truth comes down to it, because those on the left who have been brainwashed by so many stories in my own country, Brexit, the reaction, I've talked about this, the reaction of so many people in my own country to a democratic vote fed by the lies and the vitriol of our left-wing media was horrendous. Climate change is another one, something that people will just believe in without questioning it. Everything to do with COVID, just believe what they're told by the BBC, by CNN, by The Guardian. Well, all anyone's had to do is scratch beneath the surface of all of these stories, particularly COVID, to realise, hold on a minute, the full truth certainly is not being provided by the mainstream media. And that's why people like Trump. That's why they liked him and they continue to, and it's why he's not finished. Isn't it interesting that the theory that Trump espoused, or that certainly the one that he wanted to investigate, was dismissed when he was in power, when he was president, right? And now Joe Biden's in power, it's being given credence. Isn't that interesting? Because what would have happened in that US election if this story was given prominence in the media? If ordinary people, most of whom, as we know, can't be arsed looking beyond what they're told by that godforsaken TV, if it was in the public consciousness, the idea that this virus escaped from a lab and that Trump was the one who wanted to investigate that, what would that have meant for the US election? I dare say Trump would have won it easily. I have my deep suspicions that he did win it easily, as I know many people do. But put that to one side. To what degree has politically motivated ideologies interfered with this and interfered with the life of every single person on this planet? I call it Trump Derangement Syndrome. Is so powerful and so destructive that if Trump says something, automatically in the minds of these people, it can't be true because he said it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. He said it, so it can't be true. So what does this mean now? Put to one side, we're still waiting to see the full details to emerge. Put to one side the subsequent US election that followed in 2020 and what that would have meant if people would have been aware of this story. Put all that to one side. What are going to be the ramifications? What next? What are going to be the new revelations? What else is going to come out now? Now it's telling because, well, people are in for a massive shock. We've said that all along. I'm hearing the noise of a deck of cards falling to the ground as more and more and more lies are revealed to the public. You can't stop the truth coming out in the end. Now what this is going to mean is it's good, because from one perspective, surely even the most brainwashed people are going to question now, right, okay, why did the media suppress that story for so long? Why and why now is it being given exposure? So then the next logical question, surely in the brains even of the most indoctrinated, would be, if there's been a cover-up relating to this, then what else do they not want us to know? Right? Which is great. Now, the flip side of that is the instability that this is going to cause. I mean, consider a virus was released, whether intentionally or not intentionally. Anyway, that doesn't matter at this point. A virus was released, possibly, via a lab in China, and the Chinese and American authorities collaborated to cover up the fact that that had happened, instructed big tech and the mainstream media to censor anybody who wanted to raise awareness of that to the public. Right. What followed was a revelation regarding exactly that. People then start questioning, what type of relationship does China have with the US? Once more information then flows about what else has happened, economic sanctions would have to be applied to China. What does that mean for the world economy? What political turbulence will then follow in the US? Will that ultimately lead to war with China? I've always said ultimately all roads lead to war with China and the West. I think the only way the West unites, the only way it can unite now is with one common enemy, that's China, which sounds terrible. And I'm not saying they're my enemy, I'm not saying that at all. I just think all roads ultimately, whether it's in 2 years or 20 years, lead to war between the US and the West and China. And most of all, what will it mean to the lives of millions of people when they finally, the veils come off from over their eyes and they see what's been right in front of them the whole time, the lies that they've been told from the organisations that they trusted, the Guardians, the BBCs, the CNNs, etc, etc. And that trust that will be lost, not lost, destroyed, trust in truth, trust in politics, trust in scientists and science. I've just watched an interesting video there by Russell Brand, who I've got so much respect for that man. I used to think he was a complete tool. I think he was. He's reinvented himself as one of the world's best journalists. He has an understanding of the human condition and he is a truth teller. He really is. Well done, Russell Brand. Keep doing what you're doing. He makes an interesting point about science. And he says about how in our obsession with the West, our obsession with science and constant progress in the name of science to improve ourselves and our lives and the world around us, what do we do then when we go from the point that science is the solution to all of our problems to science caused the problem? And I've talked about this a lot as well, in blind faith that people have. I see it in my own country, blind faith people have in science. When they say the science, they mean what they've been told on the TV usually, because when you get into it, they don't understand. But I think that we've got a situation where we have scientists who don't understand the main principle of science, which is science is underpinned by doubt, not certainty. And he says, if science is the cause of all of the problems that we've had in the last 18 months and not the solution, what on earth does that say about our relationship to science and who we are as people and where we should go next? And this is both simple and complex. Simple in that there are people, I believe including Donald Trump, who just wanted the truth out. People like me doing this. We don't have a shaky relationship with truth at all. And that's the problem. It seems that so many people do. And I'll tell you why. Because we live in such emotionally immature age. There are so many people who are programmed so strongly, who are so immature in the way that they deal with their own belief structures, that if somebody or a publication says something, so a Trump or a Daily Mail, or Nigel Farage, that's wrong, it's probably racist, it's probably xenophobic, it's probably sexist, simply because of the person saying it. We've forgotten that there's little bits of truth in everything, and that in order to form our own belief structure that's relatively unconditioned, because we can't be, no, everybody is conditioned in some way, but to make an attempt to have an opinion free from conjecture, free from indoctrination, free from too much influence from what others are saying, well, what we need to do is realise that there are little bits of truth everywhere and pull them together to form our own objective view. And in doing so, people will then be able to coalesce around exposing a lie, which is what's starting to happen now. So Donald Trump, yeah, I thought he was a great president. I liked him because he said what he thought, and we live in an age where people don't like people who say what they think because of the reasons I've just gone into. I think Trump's going to be vindicated. God knows what's going to happen next with this story. It's going to be interesting. So I'll leave you at this. This is going to be one bumpy ride now, so get strapped in. Right, okay. If you like my content, please do subscribe to The Imperfect Individual, and I'd be very interested to hear your comments on this video. Let's hope that YouTube don't censor it. Anyway, see you soon. Bye bye.